So the Batman has officially been out for a full month, and I've had the time to finally fully digest it. With that being said, I'm really into this character now and would love nothing more than to rank every live-action Batman movie. Except the Adam West one. Sorry, I can't find it anywhere to watch. Therefore today, I'm ranking every live-action Batman movie, from Tim Burton's 1989 Batman film, all the way to Matt Reeves' newest Cape Crusader spectacle. Let's waste no more time and get started.
Number 9.
Number 9 is Batman Returns. Batman from 1989 easily could have been here too, but Batman Returns is slightly worse in my opinion. One of the few positives I have to say about Batman Returns is Michael Keaton's more in this one than the last. If you saw my video discussing Batman and Batman Returns, you know I like Michael Keaton as Bruce Wayne and Batman. I'm not really sure why Tim Burton chose to focus more on the villains than Batman himself in either of these movies. It makes no sense. Michael Keaton should have been in the movies more. But honestly, outside of Michael Keaton, I was very disinterested in everything going on in this film. You very well could mistake this movie for How the Grinch Stole Christmas with Jim Carrey. It's over-the-top cartoony. I have never been the biggest fan of Tim Burton's style for filmmaking, and his style certainly does not work for a Batman film. Danny DeVito as the Penguin is quite odd. He's funny to watch on screen, but not menacing whatsoever. Christopher Walken plays the movie's big bad business guy who has zero character development, but Michelle Pfeiffer plays my favorite version of Catwoman, so there's at least that.
Number 8.
You guessed it, Michael Keaton's Batman from 1989 takes spot number 8. It shouldn't be much of a surprise that this movie is here because I feel the same exact way about Batman as I do about Batman Returns. Neither movie interests me whatsoever. The only reason I rank this movie higher than Batman Returns is because I like Jack Nicholson's portrayal of Joker. As a matter of fact, Jack Nicholson is the only thing I like about Batman. He's by no means my favorite Joker, but he's still entertaining to watch. If you could think of the most cartoony but still intimidating Joker in your head, this is the version you would get. Oh, and you guessed right for a second time, the reason why I dislike this movie as much as Batman Returns is because, once again, the film is so boring and slow. There's nothing enjoyable about this outside of Jack Nicholson. Again, it's like a giant cartoon, and this time around, instead of being like How the Grinch Stole Christmas, it's an Edward Scissorhands-esque Batman movie. I cannot stand it.
Number 7.
Speaking of movies people can't stand, number 7 is Batman and Robin, but honestly, I'm not sure why people hate this movie so much. Sure, it's not good. In terms of quality, it might be worse than Batman and Batman Returns, but at the same time, that's kind of the point. The movie is supposed to be, in a way, a spoof. It's really funny. I think George Clooney is another good iteration of Batman. He gets a bad rap, and Chris O'Donnell is really good the second time around as Robin. Even the villains in Batman and Robin have characterization despite not being taken seriously by most people, because yes, these villains are some of the stupidest, most ridiculous ideas we've ever gotten for villains in a superhero movie. But come on, you gotta love Arnold Schwarzenegger's dialogue as Mr. Freeze. So yeah, Batman and Robin is definitely the Batman movie that's so bad it's good. It's most definitely way too silly for a Batman movie. It feels like it's made for children, but also has adult elements. For me, it's entertaining enough to put it at number 7 overall.
Number 6.
At 6, it's Batman Forever, rounding out the era that went from Michael Keaton to Val Kilmer all the way to George Clooney. And this is easily the best movie of the 4 from the 80s and 90s. For once, Batman is actually a character you care about. You get a great idea of how his parents' death affected him mentally to this day, and he still has PTSD from those events. I also think his romance with Nicole Kidman's character is engaging. It's easily my favorite romance of the 4 movies' romances. Val Kilmer is so good too. I wish he played Bruce Wayne in Batman more. If you gave him a Batman movie similar to The Dark Knight or The Batman, I think he would have knocked it out of the park. And Chris O'Donnell as Robin is electric. I'm so glad they introduced this character in Batman Forever. Those two are a dynamic duo. I truly cared about both characters and their friendship. They have similar backstories. Everything connects between the two. And don't forget that the action is watchable for the first time out of the 4 movies. But of course, Batman Forever is not a perfect movie. It follows the same route of Batman and Batman Returns. It's super over the top, kind of goofy. I can't take Jim Carrey or Tommy Lee Jones serious as the villains. As funny as they are, I just don't buy them as menacing villains. But the stuff that works in this movie truly works, like Nicole Kidman's character, as well as the friendship between Batman and Robin.
Number 5.
Some of you may hate me for this, but number 5 is Batman vs. Superman: Dawn of Justice. I'm sorry, I slightly prefer this movie over Batman Forever, but it's closer than you think. Maybe I'm a little biased because I love Zack Snyder's Justice League movie, and this film has a similar tone to that movie. I might be in the minority for this, but I always like the DCEU's dark tone in their early movies. And Batman vs. Superman: Dawn of Justice projects that dark tone perfectly. When discussing the character of Superman in this movie, I love how everyone views Superman in this universe as a dangerous god who must be stopped. That's such a cool idea and gave us a hint of what could possibly come next for the character of Superman in future Justice League movies. And Henry Cavill is incredible as the character, just like he was in Man of Steel. Ben Affleck, same for him. I love him as Bruce Wayne, even though Zack Snyder messes up his character, because Batman kills a lot of people in this movie, and he acts less like a protector and more like an antagonist to the people of Gotham. Whatever though, Ben Affleck did all he could with Bruce Wayne and Batman in the film. So my favorite parts of Batman vs. Superman are the tone, Henry Cavill as Superman as well as that character, parts of Ben Affleck being Batman. I love him in the role, just not as much the Batman character. You also can't forget about how the action is big and bold. The scale is as large as can be, but I simply don't care about anything else in Batman vs. Superman. Jesse Eisenberg is boring as Lex Luthor. People hated that casting decision. The stuff with Lois Lane is boring, and everything teasing Justice League was unnecessary. There was about 15 to 20 extra minutes that we did not need. Overall, Batman vs. Superman: Dawn of Justice is a movie that thinks it's better than it really is. The sad reality of the situation is that Batman vs. Superman could have been one of the greatest superhero movies of all time, and unfortunately it fell flat.
Number 4.
Placing fourth is the newest Batman film, titled The Batman by Matt Reeves. I gave my full in-depth review on this film not too long ago, so I'm not going to talk too much about this one, but I will reiterate that the movie is aesthetically pleasing. I really like all the characters and performances. The first 15 minutes totally slaps. It is great, maybe the best first 15 minutes of any Batman movie. But yeah, I still think the story is on the weaker side. I'm not sure why the film chose to focus more on Falcone's backstory and less on Penguin. All of that stuff was super convoluted. The film was more confusing than it needed to be. I wish Robert Pattinson's Bruce Wayne had more development. We barely know anything about him other than a couple of key elements about his family's backstory. And for a film that's 3 hours long, holy crap, the film is 3 hours long. Why was it so long? But for a film that has a length of 3 hours, why is the finale so underwhelming? Nothing in this finale is intriguing. I could care less about the film's finale. It's nothing in comparison to the finale we got in the film I'm going to talk about next, another movie that was almost 3 hours long, and the finale made sure you stayed in your seats because it's that good. But I can't say the same about the Batman's finale. This is a solid Batman movie, but it's not in my top 3.
Number 3.
And I'm sure you saw this coming. Number 3 is The Dark Knight Rises. If you really think about it, Rises is more of a Batman Begins sequel rather than a Dark Knight sequel. Personally, I think there are only 2 great live-action Batman movies. The Dark Knight Rises could have been the third, but it didn't live up to expectations. Originally, The Dark Knight Rises was my favorite of the Dark Knight trilogy, but with rewatch after rewatch, it no longer holds that title. Let's get into why I feel that way. First and foremost, the movie introduces several characters in sloppy fashion. 6 big new faces are introduced in less than 15 minutes. You got Aidan Gillen, Tom Hardy, Ben Mendelsohn, Marion Cotillard, Anne Hathaway, and Joseph Gordon-Levitt. That's 6 A-listers brought into the film in the first 15 minutes, and we barely know anything about them because it's just that. They're introduced in the first 15 minutes. I also have no idea how Joseph Gordon-Levitt's character knows who Batman Batman is. He knows that it's Bruce Wayne. I feel like the only reason that's in the film is for the sake of convenience, but it really shouldn't be in there. I don't like the random love interests either with Anne Hathaway's Catwoman or Marion Cotillard's character. None of it had to be in the movie. What about Bane? Well, I think he's awesome as a very powerful supervillain, but he's kind of lame at the same time because he's just a pawn for Ra's al Ghul's daughter, Talia. So most of the movie builds up to this big climax with Bane, when in reality, Bane isn't that important to the story. And Talia is revealed as the movie's main villain, but her plot doesn't make any sense because she says she hates her father for what he did to Bane, but then again, she still wants to carry out his plan to destroy Gotham even though she hates him. Please make it make sense. In your head, you're probably thinking, Andrew hates The Dark Knight Rises, but no, I think this is a good movie. It just has a lot of flaws. All the jail stuff is very inspirational, and the movie is epic as hell. This is the most epic of the trilogy. The cinematography is beautiful. The cast is stacked. The performances are great. I love Michael Caine as Alfred, and of course Christian Bale as Bruce Wayne for one last time. I just think the story needed some touching up, and there shouldn't have been as many characters as there were in The Dark Knight Rises. This could have been a cleaner made film.
Number 2.
Coming in at number 2 is Batman Begins. Let me reiterate, there are only 2 great Batman films. Batman Begins, and well, one other one that I'll reveal at number 1. Okay, simply put, Batman Begins has an amazing opening. There is nothing better than the first 40 minutes of this film. You go from Bruce Wayne's upbringing with his parents' death all the way to the League of Shadows training, as well as the trial of Joe Chill. This is where we see Batman's arc come full force. And to be completely real with you all, I am mesmerized every time I watch these scenes, and seeing Batman throw that gun in the river does wonders for the goosebumps I get on my skin, as well as that final shot. Batman Begins is the perfect origin story. There is no other way you can tell Batman's origin story better than this. Right from the start, you understand Bruce Wayne's character and how layered he is. Obviously, the score is one of my favorites in history. Hans Zimmer, even to this day, is still a master of his craft. I especially like how Batman Begins was the first look at a dark Batman movie. It totally showed us what was to come from the rest of Nolan's films. I also really like Ra's al Ghul and Scarecrow as villains. I think they're great. Not to mention how simple Batman Begins is compared to the second and third movies of this trilogy. The only main issue I have with Batman Begins is how they do Scarecrow dirty, but even then I don't mind it that much because he returns in the second and third movies. So clearly Nolan had a reason for it. Batman Begins is close to a perfect superhero movie. It's easily one of my all-time favorites of the genre.
Number 1.
It was only a few weeks ago that I had Batman Begins over The Dark Knight as my favorite of the Nolan trilogy and favorite Batman movie of all time. Then I rewatched The Dark Knight again and realized, oh wait, no, The Dark Knight is the best movie of this trilogy. It is the best Batman movie and might be the greatest superhero movie of all time. Whenever I watch The Dark Knight, I notice something new. That's what Nolan does with his films. He makes them so layered. There's a ton of depth, just like Inception and Interstellar, as well as Tenet, to name a few of his movies that people tend to analyze quite often. And you're constantly engaged throughout this ride of a crime thriller. In particular, you're mostly engaged in the second half as the Joker's plot unravels. The movie opens in brilliant fashion, and of course, Ledger's Joker is a pure transformation. Every scene with him and Batman drops my jaw. Like, how the heck did Christopher Nolan know Heath Ledger could pull a performance like this off? I still can't believe this transformation, and he changes his voice. Heath Ledger has a dark English accent, not an accent like the Joker's in this film. So this performance is very impressive and truly one of a kind. Heath, you are still missed. What also makes The Dark Knight a great movie is how high the stakes feel, and Joker amplifies that to the max. The last hour is edge of your seat riveting stuff. I'm talking some of the best you'll ever see at the cinema. It's out of this world intense and thrilling, and it's the only Batman movie where I feel feel invested from an emotional standpoint. What else can I say to praise The Dark Knight? It's an absolute blast. There are so many iconic, memorable scenes. It's the definition of a summer blockbuster. Well, there you have it. Those are my rankings for all 9 live-action Batman movies. Again, sorry to Adam West, but just didn't get the time to see you. Of course, though, guys, if you also have your ranking of the Batman movies, be sure to let me know down below in the comment section what your ranking is. And as always, if you are new to my channel, click that subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Thank you all so much for watching this video, and I hope you all have a fantastic day. Boy, I gotta rewatch the Dark Knight trilogy again. I think I'll start now.